Within this chaotic time in the world, with very few roadmaps to find our way forward, to find our path, what are the navigational systems that you are using to finding your way? Is it what your parents and what your environment told you growing up? Is it what all of the shoulds are based on our cultural conditioning? Are you following what you're seeing on social media, on YouTube? Are you just looking around you at all of your friends in your environment and going with the grain of what everyone else is doing? Or maybe you're like me. You're confused, you're disoriented, you don't know what to do, you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, what direction to go, what your path is. But what if I told you that there was an ancient intelligence within you that knew the blueprint of your soul, that is crying out to feel its fullest expression in this life? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. The truth is that you have something within you that knows what to do, that knows what direction to go, and its primary purpose is to become. But in our society, we have lost the connection to that place within us, and we look externally to inform how we should live our lives. In my opinion, the purpose of life is to become more of who we are, not the personality that you have developed over the course of your life experiences that is based on all of your wounding, all of the masks that you've created, all of these defense mechanisms. No, I'm talking about the becoming of the essence within you, what I call the seed within you that was planted within you the moment you took your first breath. And it's been in there and it will always be in there. And the purpose of our life is to allow that seed to bloom into the fullest expression of what it came here to be, what to look like, what sounds it was going to make, what colors it was going to create. And so this place that some people call the whisper, some people call your internal knowing, your inner compass, this is your companion in helping the seed grow into the flower that is your life's expression. And it will change your life. I think that a large part of what we call mental illness is a collective disconnection to the seed that wants to grow within us, and life trying to get our attention to bring us back into this essential connection to that seed of life within us. What if mental health and what if this meaning crisis really was life trying to tell us that we need to water this seed within us? For some of you, this might make sense, and for others of you, you might be completely lost. So let's get into the weeds of it and really draw this out. So before we get into the weeds of things, we need to be on the same page, and I need to make a couple things very clear. This place that I talk about that just knows what to do, this inner whisper, this inner guiding intelligence, for now I'm calling this the artifact of remembrance, and I'll tell you later why I called it that. And so we have the artifact of remembrance, and we also have what I've called the seed that is within you. And basically, the artifact of remembrance, this place that knows, that place that is trying to nudge us in different directions, the goal of that artifact of remembrance is to try and help this seed within us become. It is trying to help this seed within us become the full bloom of the flower. And so you can think about each of our lives is a song. That seed within each of us, that's the lyrics of the song. That's the melody of the song. And the artifact of remembering is trying to help us remember the lyrics of the song, remembering how that song goes, how it sounds, how to sing that song. They are working together. And so to preface this, I also need to be clear that I believe that nature makes no mistakes, and that things are happening for a reason, not out of mere coincidence. Okay, let's begin. Humans are different than all of the other species in our own unique way. We just are. It's not something to be avoided. It's not something that's better than or worse than. It is the way that it is. When our brains evolved and we developed our fancy new prefrontal cortexes, things began to change in a big way. Our prefrontal cortex is involved in higher cognitive functions such as planning, self-awareness, self-reflection, decision-making, reasoning, emotional regulation, attention regulation, moral reasoning, and working memory. And within our prefrontal cortexes, humans suddenly had the ability to be a conscious witness of life. And we had the ability to witness our experience as the witnesser. And so Zach Bush has this great example of when he was in Africa, there's this incredible sunset happening. And he looks around and there's all these monkeys and other things, and none of them, and the birds flying by, none of them are pausing to look at the sunset in awe. Whereas humans, we pause, we reflect, we get to witness this beauty that is unfolding. Whereas all of these other species of life, they are completely one with life force energy moving. And so the squirrel doesn't pause in the middle of their day to think about what they just did. And the tree can't help but grow into its fullness. Trees, squirrels, they don't have the ability to go against how life is trying to move through them, right? This journey of becoming. A tree or a squirrel, whatever it is, they don't have the ability to take a day off from life and get high on the couch all day and watch Netflix, right? This is a unique human thing. We have the ability to be aware of this orchestration of life that is happening, and we have the ability to go against that grain that is trying to move through us. And so the way that I see it is that life is trying to move through us in that it wants that seed within us that I talked about to become its fullest expression. It wants this artifact of remembrance to work together with the seed within us to bloom into the flower that is you. And it's unique to humans that we have the ability to go against that. We have the ability to shut off and disconnect from that and let those seeds stay dormant within us. And through this ability to witness life happening and consciously intervene with it, there was space created for humans to start to believe that we were separate than all of life. We saw life happening, the animals, the trees, the insects, the bugs, the bees, all of it, that they were just completely going. They weren't stopping, they weren't pausing, they weren't having moments to think. This was a human thing. And we started to believe that we are separate than that life that is happening out there. And within that feeling of separateness, that we are different, also was created this belief that we are better than, which created the ability to start dominating and the ability to start extracting from life, because we're different, we're better. So now we can start, dominating all of these other life forms that are not as good as us. Fast forward to today, and we have a lost generation of wanderers, unsure of who they are, unsure of what humans' place is in this orchestration of life, unsure of what our purpose is, unsure of the seed that lives within us, and unsure of which direction to go. But if nature never makes a mistake, don't you think that she planned for this? Don't you think that she knew that when we had these newly evolved brain regions that allowed us to believe that we are separate, and it also allowed us to witness the beauty of a sunset and to create more beauty in life? See, there's the gift and the shadow of this newly evolved brain region, of this newly evolved capacity for consciousness. Is on one hand, we get to be conscious creators of more beauty, of more life on Earth. But on the shadow, now we feel like we're separate. Now we're starting to wonder, what is our place, right? We feel like we're different. What's our place in this whole thing? But nature knew that that would come. Nature knew that there might be a possibility that we go astray, that we lose ourselves, that we lose this connection. And that maybe in that feeling of different and separateness, we would get attached to it and it would really take us. And so what did nature do? Nature gave us this artifact of remembrance. Nature gave us this internal navigational system that she knew would be essential to us finding our way through life, to us reconnecting with our path, to us reconnecting to that life force that is trying to express through you, to the stream of life that is trying to help the seed grow, because she knew that that was essential to our health and well-being. She knows that this whole life orchestration is trying to play the most beautiful song, and humans must be a part of that. And for humans to be a part of that, we must nourish this seed that only you can nourish, that only grows within you. And so she gave us this artifact of remembrance to find our way back, to listening to that place within us that knows what to do, that knows what direction to go, that knows what lyrics to sing in the song of our life. Ants don't need this artifact of remembrance because they don't have the capacity to forget. Whereas humans, we get lost, we forget, we wander, we go astray. And so this is a part of our human design that we were given, because nature makes no mistakes. And she is always interweaving throughout all of life to create the most beautiful tapestry, the most beautiful song on earth. For thousands of years, earth-based traditions relied on things like ritual practices as ways to reconnect with that artifact of remembrance, because they knew it was essential that we were listening to life and how nature wanted to move through us and how to find our place in the world as humans, right? With this new capacity to witness life and intervene, we hold a massive tool there. We hold a sword that we must learn to wield with integrity, with grace, with care. And so we relied on these practices where we could come into direct contact with that artifact of remembrance and with the seed that is wanting to become through us in order to inform how we would show up. But the thing is that we have lost that in our Western culture. We don't have ritual practices. We don't have rites of passage. We don't have collective ceremonies together. And now we are wandering and we are relying on our minds and we're trying to find our way with no roadmap. But that's not how life was supposed to be, right? We were meant to be sitting in these spaces. We were meant to be cultivating a relationship with the artifact of remembrance within us. And so our world's different now, and it looks different now. And so this same artifact of remembrance might look like you needing to cut off certain relationships, or the place within you that knows that there is a conversation that must be had, that there are unspoken words between you and someone, or maybe there's a boundary that needs to be set, or maybe that knows that you really need to quit your job because it's draining your life from you, or knows that there is art within you that wants to be created, or that knows that you need to finish this book that you've wanted to write for a long time and that's almost been done. Unfortunately, the truth is that many of us have been so disconnected from these places within us, and that maybe you can't hear them at all. Maybe you question their existence in you. Maybe you're the odd one out where you weren't given these gifts by life. And that's okay, and that's all natural. And so for any of you who are wondering, how the heck do I start connecting with that place within you? Maybe these words are resonating with you, but you don't know where to go. Just by acknowledging its existence, just by letting this land within you and opening up your awareness to its existence, you're already creating more space within you for that whisper, for that place within you to rise to the surface and to be heard. Because it's a two-way street, this relationship. The more that you pay attention to it, the more loud it becomes. And so if you don't know when it's speaking to you, you don't know what it feels like in your body, just holding that awareness, I'm open to it. And as Eric Godsey puts, and he talks about, which I think is so perfect here, is start telling yourself the truth. Because what happens is that this artifact of remembrance, the seed within you, they live at the core of your being. They live deep down. And so for many of us, we have built all of these layers over time that kind of cover up these core places within us. And as we start to tell ourselves the truth, we get to acknowledge these layers that for many years, many of us haven't acknowledged because we're not fully really telling ourselves the truth. And so telling yourselves the truth would be acknowledging some of these pieces that I talked about earlier. It's like, acknowledge that you're kind of miserable in life. Like, tell the truth to yourself that a lot of your relationships feel pretty empty, and that even though you're surrounded by all these people, that you feel alone, or maybe that you feel really lost. Our culture tells us that feeling those kinds of things is not okay and that we should always be good, we should always be all good. And so then we create resistance to these aspects of our experience that are real for us. And so telling the truth, it starts to soften those layers within you. And as you start to acknowledge these layers, and you don't have to like change your life, you don't have to do all of these, you don't have to go quit your job and like quit all of your relationships tomorrow, but by acknowledging that that's a real part of your experience, you start to soften these layers within you. And when you soften into those layers within you and you tell yourself the truth, you are starting to create more space between you and the whisper, you and this artifact of remembrance, you and that seed within you that is longing to fully become who it is. It's hard to say just how important this topic is, because to me it's kind of like the goal of life, the purpose of life. But maybe we can use a metaphor to try and sum up how important it is. So imagine an acorn that for whatever reason it's not nourished with the proper sunlight, the proper water, whatever the conditions are, to become the oak tree. And so it merely stays an acorn, and then it disintegrates and yada yada. And then we have a different acorn that does become the oak tree, and it becomes the oak tree in its fullest development, in its fullest expression. That is what we are talking about here. We are talking about remembering the necessary ingredients that help us to become the fullest expression of who we are. So we can talk about things like finding happiness, living your best life, finding your purpose. But to me, these really are all branches of a much bigger tree, and it is that tree of becoming. And I feel that that is the core of what we are longing for as human beings. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope that it was helpful, and I hope that it felt nourishing to these deeper parts of who you are. My name is Blake Chalfant. If you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe. How did this land for you? Share it with a friend. And I hope to see you on the next one, on this wild journey of life.